Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of the Cartridge and Disc Podcast. This is your Gen X Gamer here. Today with the last episode, and I mean the very last episode of this commute series, because I'm no longer going to be commuting, right? And this last episode was inspired by a comment that was left by Retro Bro yesterday on the video of what happened to the winners of the contest of the Earthworm Jim. Let me take a swing of water here. And let me say this. There is no closure, Retro Bro. We don't have any closure. Now, a lot of people are fond of this story, and it's, I think it's quite the coincidence that he made this comment here, because he's one of the original supporters and I'm one of the original detractors, haters, right? He was part of the AKA cult and I was part of the AKA hater group, detractor group, and it was a lot of fun. And those of us who were in the original, right? There's a lot of people that came in afterwards, but the originals, right, were the cult and the people in the hater games, right? The Gatoroos hater games. Those are the originals. That's where it started. That really is the Amico Wars. Everything else is just, you know, people coming in later. But for the bulk of the story, for the bulk of the COVID lockdown, these were the people making content. And let me tell you, without Retro Bro's Amico After Dark, there would be no Amico Forever. Without Retro Bro shows, there wouldn't have been a lot of content where we were responding to what he was putting out, right? So you need that yin to the yang, right? And a lot of channels weren't big enough to survive this whole, you know, going back and forth. They didn't survive the Amico Wars. There's a few of us left. And now we can look back at the good old days, right? A lot of people are staying at home. For me, I can say this now because I'm not working for that company anymore, guys. I was working on with a company for a project that was working on the COVID testing units. So I was working overtime, right? I was working on a project for the machines that actually tested the test kits, if you will. They processed the test kits. So I was working a lot. I would watch all this content from Amico during the day, and then during the night I would make my response videos, post them the next day, what have you. You know, and you know, OEB Pete, you know, and Cyrus were back there in the day, Saggy. We'd listen to everybody, listen to those shows, and it was a good going back and forth, because we were talking about the company. We were talking about the claims that Tommy was making. And Tommy was a dynamo for everything. Now, why do people still care? Let me just give you one reason, Retro Bro. And that is, there is no closure for Tommy Tallarico, who was the driver, right? Now, a lot of people want to see closure as far as him ending up in handcuffs. I don't think that's going to happen. They want to see some sort of indictment. I don't think it's that kind of situation. But maybe a bankruptcy, right? And I'll just give you one of the reasons. A bankruptcy is public, right? If the LLC that took our AKA deposit money for these units, if that goes belly up, they have to declare bankruptcy. And in a bankruptcy, guess who gets to call in? That's right, everybody that you owe money to. Can you imagine the phone calls at that hearing? It's going to be similar to the DSP hearing, where people were calling all kinds of stuff, right? That's going to be crazy. You also have, you know, the documents that are going to be public, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. And guys, I don't wish anybody to get divorced. I don't, right? But when people do get divorced, which was rumored to be happening with one Thomas Tallarico, you have to, you know, you have to go through court. Some stuff becomes public. it's quite the pain in the butt. And you know, people want to see that stuff. Where is it going to end up in? Did he really keep the comic books? Did he really sell all that stuff? What's going on, right? That's what people want to know. And that's why there's still interest in the story. That's why there is no closure here. And the reason people still care about these stories. Now, I know there's a lot of my core audience, right, that have been following me from back in the day, that do care, that want to see the closure to the story. What's going to happen to Tommy? What industry is he going to end up in? Is he going to be out there hawking products for backgammon? Is he going to be, I don't know, selling a new product? Will he be working in video game music anymore? Or taking credit for something else, which is what he did. But the dynamo here was Tommy Tallarico. There is no closure on his story. For us, he was the Tiger King of the Amico community. He was a driver behind all this. And now he's just a paper tiger. What has happened, right? He's been driven out of the company. He has a title that is just a ghost title. It's meaningless. Because, you know, just like I told you before, this company is not normal in any way, right? I want you to tell me if you know of any company whose director is being sued because the company that he's a director of doesn't pay their bills. And he's got to pay the bills because he personally guaranteed that they were going to do so. And the people running the company, even though they're selling things for 3 figures right now, would rather pay themselves than to help him pay this bill. Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, it's nuts. So people might not see the resolution that they're looking for as far as, you know, Tommy ending up in handcuffs or anything like that. That's not really a possibility, but they do want to see the bankruptcies. They do want to see the records. They do want to see reality as opposed to the stories that Tommy was weaving back in the day, the stories that he was trying to tell back in the day, which were not based on reality we know now. And maybe he wanted to make them a reality, but he couldn't have once he was forced out and taken out of the loop. That man is not making any decisions there. Everything that comes out of these guys' mouths, you can't trust. I wouldn't trust John Alvarado or Phil Adam, because they need to look in the best interest of whatever their company is. And it's not necessarily that they're liars. It's just you get paid for that. And they might be, you know, but you have to do what's in the best interest of your company. And if you're trying to sell your properties, you're not going to say, hey, we're in dire straits here, right? It's just common sense. But at the end of the day, we haven't seen the end of Tommy Tallarico. We haven't had that closure. And it's going to be something spectacular to see if this company that owes us our refunds declares bankruptcy and has a public hearing. Oh, man, am I going to be calling in? Oh, you betcha. You bet you. If you're going to keep my $100, my $200, at least I'm going to get a phone call. That you can take to the bank. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.